Hello and welcome. I am Lee Hopwood, the CEO here at the CCMA. And today's online seminar is a focus on AI in the contact centre and uncovering the reality of what's happening in our industry. In a moment, I'm going to be introducing you to our guests for today's session from Nespresso, DHL and Genesys. And then we shall also like to hear from you as well. So I'll be inviting you to share your views and thoughts in the chat and the Q&A. Now, earlier this year, the euphoria about AI peaked when the hype of generative AI landed. And there was a real sense that businesses were looking at AI as a must-have, otherwise our business won't survive. And since then, I'm pleased to say that some reality has kicked in. And I'm certainly hearing more stories from leaders that are approaching AI and generative AI in the same way that they do other technology. So really understanding the business pain and then looking for the right solution to solve it at obviously the best price. Now, over the last couple of months, we've been on a roadshow around the UK, as well as having lots of fun. We have been finding out how different organisations, large and small, from different sectors, are approaching AI, and we've been really pleased to have Genesys support us on that journey. There's been a lot of insight. There have been lots and lots of stories, loads of use cases being shared, and lots of learning along the way. And we've got one more roadshow in Heineken in Edinburgh on the 30th of January. So if you're around, please do register. There are still a small number of spaces left. But today is all about bringing you some of those discussions, some of the highlights, and obviously sharing some more of those use cases. I thought I'd reflect on what some of my observations have been. And I think one of the key things that has come out is that AI is not a strategy. Some people talk about AI being a strategy, and it's not. And it is a technology that has been around a long time. It is used by many organizations, such as in their chatbots. However, it's generative AI that people are exploring a little bit more, but with caution. And one of the things I have learned over the last couple of months is that it really does, this generative AI really does require a lot of accurate data and quite a bit of attention in order to do it well. Now, I am not an expert in AI, and we've got Steve from Genesys who'll be here on hand in a moment to be our expert. But through the roadshows, we've heard lots of use cases for AI, and it's been really interesting that we've asked how many people are knowingly using AI, and that has been just shy of around 50%. So AI is not a technology that is used throughout the industry yet, even the original AI. But what I have seen is that AI, I'm kind of putting into three buckets. One around the customer experience and how AI is really supporting the customer experience. I've got another bucket around colleagues and how AI is really enabling colleagues to do their jobs better and more effectively. And there's another bucket around the operation and how AI is being used to really support the operations, such as using data to make decisions. And it's been really fascinating hearing the different priorities that different organizations, depending on their sector, depending on the interactions they have, and depending on their brand and their brand values, and therefore where the priority sits. Is it supporting the customer experience? Is it supporting the colleague experience? Is it simply using it for decision making? And we'll hear a little bit more about that in a moment. There have been some key areas I'd like to call out. First, if you're looking to implement AI, because of the perceived threat of it taking jobs, stakeholder management is so important. And that is from the front line all the way up to the CEO. There is still a real lack of understanding about the real potential of this technology. And what we're seeing is that some people are getting really, really excited about it and want to implement it really quickly. And maybe they just need reining back a little bit just to better understand it. Whereas for others, it absolutely terrifies them. It's scary, it's a big unknown, and therefore there'll be some resistance to it. So that stakeholder management piece seems to be a really important piece, and I think we'll hear more of that from the panel in a moment. Within that stakeholder group, don't forget to talk to your compliance and legal. Again, they are still learning too. And as a result, they may be more cautious with this new generative AI because of the trust issues that I'm sure we've all been talking about. And preparing the business is also really important. You may have to go through a culture change to be able to take full advantage of this technology. But for some of you, you may see it as more of an evolution. For others, it might be a revolution. So everybody is approaching it really, really differently. And of course, just like all other technologies and investments, identifying the ROI is important. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, I have heard some say that they see ROI as saved in headcount, but actually, I think the reality is that I've heard more people say that they are not prepared to give up headcount because AI results in different conversations for the front line, which are longer, they're more complex. So the ROI appears to be coming from improved efficiencies and delivering a better customer experience. So we will be exploring that with our panel too. Now, as part of this program, we are doing some research with Genesys into what your priorities are for implementing AI in your contact centres. So in the chat is a link to a quick survey. Please do go ahead and click on it, check it out. I'm pleased to say that Genesys has kindly put up £200 experience vouchers for you to have a chance of winning. So maybe it's for you, maybe it's actually for a member of your team. So I am now going to ask our panel to join me on screen. So we have a fabulous panel and we've had lots of fun with them. So we've had Paul Manley, for the VP of Customer Service UK and Ireland at DHL, and he joined us in Bristol. Ben White, the Customer Contact Manager at Nespresso, he joined us in Durham. And Steve Barrett, the Digital Experience Chatbot and AI Enterprise EMEA Lead at Genesys, has joined me all over the country. So, guys, thank you for joining me.
Good to be here. Hello. Thanks, Evan.
So, Ben, I am going to come to you first because I'm going to reflect back on one of our earlier conversations in around September time, where you said to me that you didn't think you were very far on your AI journey. And I kind of suggested that might not be the case. But please could you share with us what your approach is to AI and the progress that you're making?
Oh, absolutely. And yes, very well remembered. I remember that conversation in great detail, and it was one of those conversations that I think you, as you start to sort of talk about these things, and I think you sort of took a step back and said, "Are you sure you're only as far as you think you are, Ben?" And I said, "Well, maybe I'm a bit further than that." So from a contact center perspective, our first sort of venture into AI was actually outside of customer contact and employee experience. We introduced an AI model that supports us with our fraud prevention. So this helps us identify fraudulent activity and prevent orders where we think that something is going wrong. But we started a journey with our new CCaaS provider, Genesys, actually, back in November last year, and it was a very quick journey. And one that I think to your point around not knowing how far you are along that journey, we started implementing and started moving across to this new system without really thinking about what AI was giving us out of this at the time. So we started implementing AI in our routing capabilities. So this is in making sure that we're getting the customers to the right agent at the right time. And we also started looking at one of our major sort of functions we were looking to implement was our new knowledge management system. So using a partner through Genesys, we basically moved all of our knowledge management into this new system. And by utilizing that new system, AI can provide the agents with the right information at the right time to support that customer with the query that they've got. So this was all around our focus to try and improve the agent experience. So how do we make sure that agents feel comfortable with the conversations that are coming through to them specifically, and how do we make sure that they're tooled up and ready for that conversation with the customer? that was our approach, and this was due to a few factors, but mainly we have limitations in terms of being able to access our customer systems. So in order to create those sorts of AI journeys that we see a lot around understanding a customer, personalizing the experience, and these are all things we want to get to, but our main focus has all been mainly around employee experience. So how do we make our agents' lives easier? How do we make them more efficient? And I think it's less about trying to approach it in a way that says, I think you mentioned it before, around reducing headcount, because I think there's always going to be a necessity to have a human being there. We were having a conversation earlier around how there's potentially always going to need to be a human there to fix the problems. If the AI stops working or the technology stops working, then humans are going to have to pick up the slack, right? So yeah, it's about how do we make those tasks more efficient and how do we improve the experience for our agents.
And something you said to me in that conversation around the customer experience and using AI in the customer experience has stuck with me. You probably know the phrase that I'm going to ask you to repeat. But why are you not using AI for the customer experience currently?
Sure, and I think it's just because we're not ready. So when we've looked at sort of implementing our new bots, so we're implementing a new chat bot when we went through this project. It's very easy for a customer to break an AI model. And I mean, when we're looking at generative AI, ChatGPT and things like that, we find that sometimes it can find the incorrect information. You made a really good comment about the fact that making sure that your data is in the right state and it's accurate, and there's a huge amount of management that needs to be done there to ensure that your AI models are accessing the right information. But it's much easier for a customer to break an AI model. And in that fact, if you're working for a company like Nespresso and you have a brand that you want to protect, having a substandard experience from a customer's perspective just isn't really acceptable. So making sure we approach AI in the way that can still continue to deliver our brand. I just don't think we're there yet. I don't think we have the capabilities. But from an agent perspective, I'm more than happy for them to break the systems because we learn from that and we can improve it further. But it's a fine line when it comes to putting that in front of the customer.
Thank you. And one last question before I move on to Paul. What are the kind of challenges that you've had to get to the point where you are now?
Sure. So I think we've seen a few, and I think this is all to do with our learnings, the speed in which we've tried to sort of onboard a new system. The biggest challenges we have, I think, is our inability to sort of, again, create that personalized experience for the customer at the moment. So making sure that we can continue to develop means that we also need to look at the rest of our tech stack at the same time. So, and this is controlled outside of us as a contact center. This is company wide, and we're a global company. So, lots of conversations to be had there. I think the other challenges we've had are probably around making sure that all of our, I think you mentioned it before, around the stakeholder management, to make sure that everybody's on board with that journey. Understanding from someone who's coming into this in a very short space of time, having a AI strategy, I think, is a little bit far-fetched. I think it needs to be that you're using AI as a tool as part of your overall business strategy. It's just going to help you get there. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. So,
thank you, Ben. Paul, DHL, different kettle of fish. I know you're both part of large global organisations, but Paul, what's your approach to AI been?
So actually, different but similar to Ben in the sense that we've had, I guess, normal AI, the digital assistant with the customer. We've had that for some time. And we are comfortable because we can educate that and we can manage that, and we're comfortable putting that in front of the customer. A lot of our AI approach, and we are literally just dipping our toe into generative AI, by the way, in a very cautious way. But our approach is really about making life easier, as Ben said, for our employees, for our people here. We believe that our people are the differentiator in our market. We believe in our people. We believe in customer service. We do not offshore. We do not outsource here at DHL Express. But we believe that our people make the difference. So everything that we do is about giving them the tools to do their job better and quicker and more efficient for the customer. So if I give you a really simple example, and I give you this merely because it's one that I actually understand, which is unusual in my call center, to be honest with you, but we're a very complicated industry. We ship all over the world, and a simple example that I understand is Apple AirPods, or the things you put in your ears. Well, actually, there are 3 batteries in Apple AirPods. 2, one in each of the ears and 1 in the case. Now, we cannot ship on an aircraft 3 lithium batteries in the same box. Now, those are the types of things that my agents need to know. And imagine that's just one rule of millions and millions of rules about putting things on aircraft, shipping stuff into Argentina or shipping stuff into France. My guys can't possibly know everything. So we have to give them the tools to enable them to do their job. And that's where AI comes in. We have to have a technology at their fingertips to enable them to understand, can I ship, how many boxes do I have to put these AirPods in? Can I ship, I don't know, crocodile skin to Italy? Those kind of things, those kind of questions, they can't possibly know the answer to everything. So we use AI and technology to help them answer those questions. So for us, it's about making their job easier and quicker and more efficient, because we believe in our people. We want them to be the best trained people in the industry, and they are, by the way. I'm a little bit biased, I know, but they are. And we believe that they add value to our customers. And the more tools that we can give them to be efficient, the better the experience is for them, and the better the experience is for the customer. So that's kind of our approach. The only other thing I would add to that is, and maybe it's the same thing, but we focus a lot on waste reduction. And waste is anything that we can make quicker, or anything that we're doing that we don't need to do, or anything we can stop doing, or anything we can improve for our people. So if we can reduce waste, then that will get a lot of focus in our business. So if we can use AI technology to help us reduce waste, reduce the time for our people to find information, then actually we will put extra emphasis on making sure that happens for them.
And I guess that ends up being a basis for your ROI.
Absolutely, and that's the point. And it isn't, as Ben said, it isn't about reducing people. It's about helping our people be more efficient for our customers, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We believe that our people come first, and we believe that if we give the people the right tools, then they'll be creating the best service for our customers.
You mentioned a moment ago that you are dipping your toe into the use of generative AI. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing there?
Well, I'll give you a simple example. And again, it is absolutely linked to what I've just talked about, which is about reducing waste. So we have a digital assistant. So our customer has a conversation with a digital assistant. And imagine, for whatever reason, the customer doesn't get satisfied by the digital assistant and has to go and chat to a person. Well, historically, our chat person has to read through the whole conversation that the customer's already had, or more to the point, what they really do is ask the customer the same questions that the digital assistant has just asked them. So actually, what that does is that stretches, again, back to the previous point, it stretches the amount of time it takes us to solve that customer's issue because we're asking the same questions, and it's a bad experience for the customer, not a great experience for our employees. So one of the things we've literally just introduced in the last couple of months is a simple step into generative AI that actually reads that whole conversation and summarizes it for our agent. And it's a nice, simple solution that enables our agent to very, very quickly get up to speed with what that customer is saying, what his issue or her issue is, and what we're trying to do. And that's a nice, simple solution that saves them either repeating the conversation or literally having to read through. And that is what I mean by reducing waste. That's waste reduction, because that's saving time for our agent, but also giving a better experience for our customer.
And that example of a use case around interaction summaries, call summaries, is something that's come out through the roadshows. That actually it's a really simple but effective way of being able to take a whole call and save it or play it back to an advisor as appropriate. Yeah. So your priority has been supporting the people in your contact center?
Absolutely. Everything that we do, genuinely, our whole business strategy, and it's not just in my area, our whole business strategy starts with our people. It starts with, if we can get the best trained people, motivated, and as well trained as we possibly can, then they will deliver the great service that our customers expect. So AI, technology, generative AI, all of it, if it fits in with that, then it will get more grip in our business.
Thank you. Steve, before I come to you, there is a question that's come in the Q&A for Paul that I'm going to ask at this point. Paul, is your AI solution tech heavy or business owned?
It's business owned. So we're a very big organization. We're in 220 countries, more countries than Coca-Cola. Have I mentioned that yet? So we are the world's most international company. So we have the breadth to be able to do that ourselves, if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, and so therefore, do you have tech people in your team?
I have one person in my team that manages this whole thing. So, and that includes educating the technology as well as managing the whole structure of it.
Interesting. Thank you, Paul. And hey, if you guys have got questions for Ben, Paul, or indeed Steve, then please do put them in the Q&A, or if you've got any comments as any of your own use cases, please do put them in the chat. Now, Steve, you've been on the roadshow with me. We've done 4 venues together. We've got one more to go in January. What have been your observations from the conversations? So just to give everybody a kind of overview of what the format of those sessions have been, they haven't been show and tell. There have been case studies, there have been interviews, but we've also had open mic sessions where everybody in the room has had an opportunity to share where they're at, their own use cases. So there's been a lot of stuff shared. Steve, what has been your kind of highlights? What have you seen?
I suppose what I found interesting through, all the varying sessions is just the sheer amount of AI services, products, tools that people are using and trialing and struggling to understand what to apply where. And I see lots of people said the same thing. You've got lots of vendors knocking on your door saying, I'll improve customer experience, I'll reduce your cost to serve, and this is all great, and everyone else is doing it. Do you want it? And everyone's kind of, everyone's bored to go. We want to do it, but where do we start focusing our kind of people and our efforts, and what do we choose? And I've heard those, kind of similar conversations across all the events. And I think the one thing I would kind of, try and summarize what I would recommend is, think about what your customers are trying to do. So why are they contacting you? Is it for sales? Is it for service? Is it to administer an account? And then, what they really want is the same experience and consistent experience, regardless of the channel that they want to use. And so it's all about enabling your customers to interact with you the way that they prefer to do business with you. Because there's all sorts of statistics out there. I read something recently where 30% of people in the last 12 months have switched providers after one bad experience. And we don't start to kind of identify where that bad experience is. And if you're doing all those different siloed technologies with lots of different vendors, thinking, well, IT are doing it to, try something, or marketing are doing it to sell more, or contact center doing it to deflect calls because you can't deal with the sheer amount of inbound calls. A lot of people seem to be struggling with having that single holistic view of what are we trying to do? What's the business outcome for the next 2 years? And what might that look like in 5 years? and that kind of comes back to lots of people are trying out lots of different stuff, and not necessarily all working together harmoniously to improve the customer experience. It's kind of been my observation. So, you know, the good thing is you're in a great place where there's lots of things to choose, but it's also a bad place because which one do you choose and where do you focus your efforts on?
And it's interesting because one of the things that came out across the board was, and the advice from those that were on our panels that were doing their case studies was start small, test and learn. And yes, totally get that. But like you say, there is a challenge that if you start small in isolation, actually there's 5 different teams that are starting small in isolation. And so having that joined up approach, I guess it comes back to stakeholder management, that joined up approach to take that forward.
And I think that on that you need to get buy-in from the business, whether it's the executive board, about what it is you're going to do. And so everyone is on board. So you can do all these tests and learns of all these different products and services and keep the team updated, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly. And don't be afraid to stop if it's not working. Don't, keep on going headstrong because you've made that decision. Just be prepared to stop it and try something else before you make that commitment. Because if you don't do that, again, you run the risk of giving a bad customer experience and you'll never get them back ever again. In terms of, Paul working for DHL, he's got lots of competition out there. So they want to make sure that I become a repeat regular customer. So whatever you do, make sure all the stakeholders are included, and that is now a wider audience as well. So it's marketing, it's social teams, it's digital teams, it's legal. I've seen in some organisations, and HR. We've heard from a lot of the sessions where people are saying, "Well, am I going to lose my job?" From an agent perspective or IT or the contact center. And it's not about losing your job. It's trying to give you the tools to improve your job and to make it a better experience for you working. So you need to kind of get a far wider audience than you ever would from just an IT project.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Now, we are getting some questions in on the chat, so I am going to go to those questions. But first of all, that was useful, Steve. This is one of the comments that's in there. Thank you. We've just moved into the market, into the Genesys Cloud via our outsourced partner, and I'm struggling to understand what next, given all the AI plugin choice. And I guess, Sam, the advice to you is talk to Genesys. They're there, and they are. I'm certainly aware of some of the members of the CCMA who are working with Genesys to do that small test and learn and work through what all those choices are to meet your business need, not just because the technology is there. Okay, so I am going to go to the top of the shop. Are there examples of AI supporting sales through service in contact centres, and if so, how? Now, I am going to put that initially to you, Steve. Paul and Ben, feel free to jump in if you've got experiences there as well. But also, for those of you that are listening, if you've got examples of AI supporting sales through service in the contact centre, please do share it in the chat. Steve, any examples?
Yeah, we've got quite a few actually. So I think of one is Ethiopian Airlines is one of our case studies. So clues in the name, they sell flights. So one of the things that we all probably do at some point if we're looking to book a flight is we might go onto the airline directly, and then we might go and compare the flights if we're going London to Cairo as an example. Obviously that's Egypt, not Ethiopia, but besides the point. That you might then go onto Google and then search for something else. And so they know this. And so what they can then do is start to personalize their experience with AI to say, okay, Steve's put these things in his shopping basket. He's gone through all these things. He's now disappeared for 30 seconds or whatever parameters that they've decided to put. And therefore, they'll give me a personalized offer to pop up. Rather than going an annoying chatbot which says, "Hi, I'm a chatbot. How can I help you today?" It's more personalized to say, "Hi, I can see you've got 2 flights from London to Cairo in your shopping basket. Did you know we've got a current 10% offer if you book it today," or whatever that personalized promotion might be. And they've seen a 49% increase in shopping basket conversion just by kind of personalizing that experience online. It would be the same if I was there. They'll change the offer if I'm flying, a family of 4 with 2 young children, and I'm trying to work out excess luggage, whether it's prams or sporting equipment. again, they might give me a slightly different offer based on what I'm doing. So it won't always be that, say, here's a 10% discount. It's more personalized, which there makes me more likely to engage, which is absolutely what they've seen, which helps them reduce the cost to serve, which is kind of what, you know, a lot of customers talk about, £6-7 to service a customer when they call you. You're now talking pennies by being able to deal with that online. And we've got lots more references on our kind of customer forum website for any of you that are interested in looking. If that helps.
Yeah, no, that's useful. Ben and Paul, I know you've talked more from the people perspective, but have you got examples where either you've heard from the roadshow themselves or maybe yourself, Paul?
So I guess certainly from a DHL perspective, and this almost sounds, it's a bit like you were talking about there, Steve. You just reminded me of something that we do in our business, not necessarily in my call center, but our sales guys, when they visit a customer, we can see where their website is being hit from. We can see, bear in mind, we're an international business. So if you're one of our customers and we can view where your website is being hit from, and you can see where your website is being hit from, we can see where your potential routes are, where you might increase your sales. So if you're a customer based in Reading, I don't know why I made that up, but Reading, and you're getting lots of hits from the USA, but you don't currently export to the USA, we can then see the number of hits, and then we can work with that customer to actually open up that lane for them, so that they can start shipping to the USA. Now, clearly, that works both for our customer and for DHL Express. So we'll use technology to help our customers make their business more successful.
Interesting. Great use case there. Right, I'm going to move on to other questions that we've got in the chat. So one of the questions is, what do you find most exciting in terms of AI usage in agent training, onboarding specifically? And in fact, we've had another question. Do you have experience using any AI tools for coaching or onboarding agents, advisors in your organizations? Ben, is that something that you're doing, that you're using?
So not specifically, and I think, but my mind goes to what we're already doing, which is, Paul talked about it as well, which is how do we fill those knowledge gaps where we can't expect agents to have to learn, you know, a 5,000-page manual on how to do the job. I think that's where it becomes powerful for us. We have our B2C contacts, we have our B2B. You know, we have a crazy number of processes, as a lot of businesses do. And expecting agents to remember them and also keep on top of updates, I think, is a really important one. So if we change some of our knowledge base, if we update a process, how do we make sure that every single agent is being prepared for that change? So being able to source that right information to that agent when they need it, as opposed to getting them to learn it beforehand in every single case. Obviously, there's going to be things that are the baseline of where knowledge needs to be. But for those more intricate processes, getting them the updated information at the right time to just provide that to the customer without any fear of giving them outdated information, I think that's really important in training and onboarding. Some of these, it amazes me how well some of these agents manage to keep all this in their heads. But not everyone's mind works like that, and I think this is where we can see a real benefit.
Yeah, and we just to add to that, I think it's very similar here, actually, Ben. To be honest with you, we have an internal digital assistant. So obviously, we need to supply our guys with data, but we can analyze the questions that they are asking that internal digital assistant, and that then feeds in for us. We can then see which are the biggest areas that our agents need support with and need coaching on, so we can then feed that into our training and our coaching, so that we can improve on those areas that they're asking lots of questions on. So we can then see the trend in the reduction in those number of questions about that topic as we gradually improve their training or increase their training.
And I guess there in itself is a use case in that AI can do all of that analysis much quicker.
Oh, absolutely.
And present that back to the team leader, the coach, to be able to focus that support.
exactly. And again, it goes back to the point, which is about our people need to be adding value. People are there to add value. And if the more you can use technology to sift through shed loads of data and give you where you need to focus, then actually that's where our training team, our coaching team can add value. So all this is about improving the quality of our people, the quality of the performance of our people, and technology can be used, as you say, to sift through a load of data and tell us where the key issues are.
Nice. And Paul, actually, this is a really great opportunity for me to ask you a question that's been specifically asked of you. You mentioned your whole business strategy is about your staff to support your customers. Has there been any kickback on the customers not being the focus?
No, absolutely not. We obviously, our people want to deliver the greatest service they possibly can for our customers, but we genuinely believe that the right thing to do to give the best possible service to our customers is to have the best possible people trained as well as you can and motivated as much as we can, because they will deliver that great service. We believe that we've got a fantastic network. We've got a fantastic big yellow machine, we call it. We've got a brilliant big yellow machine. And on top of that, we have highly qualified, highly trained people. And together, those deliver the service to our customers. So it's all to actually deliver the service to the customer, by the way. This isn't, we're not ignoring the customer. We're doing everything that we possibly can to give that best service to the customer. But actually, it means that we're focusing on our people and our process so that we deliver that service to our customer. Now, that's not to say, Lee, that we ignore the feedback from our customers. We absolutely don't. We have a lot of mechanisms in our business to understand the feedback that we're getting from our customers. And again, that feeds into how we develop our people.
Nice. Thank you, Paul. Now, Steve, there's a question that I'm going to put to you, being our resident AI expert. How do you use AI to support live voice contact?
So I suppose there's two areas where I'm thinking. So we're seeing a lot of customers start to deploy voice bots so the first the first time they call you, put a voice bot in front. So get rid of all these complex IVRs. And then that voice bot tends to be a big win for most customers. So you actually start to understand why they're calling. And so you can use the AI to then, okay, based on what it is I'm trying to do, you can then use AI to route that to say, okay, I'm trying to organize a delivery. In Paul's example, I'm trying to see whether I can deliver a crocodile skin handbag from Italy to London. And therefore the intents go, okay, this is a complex query. What shall I do with it? I'll route it through to the right agent based on those intents. Then when it's delivered to that particular agent or that subject matter expert, then in real time, people call the technology different things, whether it's agent assist or co-pilot, all kind of similar technology types, where in real time, it will be listening to that conversation, whether it's voice or it's a digital channel chat, and then listening to that and then giving the agent knowledge from your knowledge repository in real time, the information around how you should deal with that interaction. And as the conversation changes, because it will start to offer more and more information to the agents, because they're not going to be an expert on everything. Now, in that example I gave of Paul's, that's probably a unique example, but there might be more specific examples around compliance. So whether you're in financial services, so it might be, I knew the mortgage rate yesterday was 5%, but it's switched today to 5.5%. I might not remember that. I might not remember all the variables. So using knowledge to assist the agent and AI in real time to give the agent the right information. So, give the customer the right answer first time. You're not manually trying to search for stuff, but you're also staying compliant with any regulations that you've got to.
So one of the other questions is, how successful can it be? It can be used really successfully. And I guess like any technology, if designed with the customer and the user experience in mind.
Exactly that. And I'll give you an example. One of our customers, they were on one of the, I think it was the London session, I think it was, Lou, where Somerset Council were in there. and that by using kind of voice bots to route, they've seen a 90% success rate of routing, the right customer to the right agent first time. So that's a massive win. If you think about all the kind of performance metrics you've got internally, getting that customer contact to the right person first time is absolutely paramount. And then whilst they're on the call, you've got the right person, your average handling time will reduce because you've got the right expert. And then that frees up more capacity for you.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to come to you, Ben, on this next question. Can you share any specific learnings that you've had on what has worked, or rather what hasn't worked, and where you've had to pivot to re-establish the sweet spot between customer experience and efficiency? It's a question that's come in. What have you learned?
Wow, what have we learned? I mean, the pivot things really, I think, is a key point there, right? So what have we done that we've had to maybe change our approach on? And I think, so again, to go back to what I was talking about originally, we've had to move this at speed and at pace. And one of the main things we wanted to do was improve the understanding of our customers' intent. So using Genesys in the way that we felt was best at that particular time. But by doing that, what we did was we actually made it we put barriers up for our customers in the IVR. So this was drawing out the IVR, making it a much more laborious experience for the customer to try and get through and actually talk to someone. So we don't have, we're trying to implement more self-service capabilities within our IVR. So we're always looking at what are customers talking to us about, what can we solve in a quick and easy, efficient way. But what we had to do was strip back a lot of what we originally implemented in our IVR, because we were putting up barriers for our customers to come and talk to us. So that was one of the biggest things that we did. So we were trying to use AI to try and identify intents and match these to skills and make sure we got through to the right people. But in the end, you see more dropouts in the IVR. You see more customers getting frustrated by the fact they're going through such a laborious process just to try and get a simple answer. So that was one of the first things that we tried to review and pivot on. And that's what we're continuing to do. We're continuing to review what our customers are experiencing with these methods of coming into us. This goes for our bot. This goes for our IVR. We onboarded WhatsApp as a new communication channel. So this again is a new learning experience. What are customers experiencing from a WhatsApp experience when it's we're using it as more of a contact method where customers can just come and talk to us at any time. So how do we make that feel like a coherent experience for the customer? There's been a lot of learnings, and that's what we're trying to do, is just trying to pick up what we've already implemented at pace, and review it and ensure that it's offering that good customer experience.
And I guess that's the point. With all technologies, it's not just a case of implement and it's done, tick box exercise.
Absolutely.
You've got to keep going back in and checking that it's actually working for you. We've got a question that's come in about how AI can support vulnerable customers. Ben, I'm not going to come to you on that question. But Paul, how do you approach using AI to support vulnerable customers? Do you see that that's an opportunity?
I must admit, I conceptually, I see it as an opportunity. I see that we like to give any customer a choice of ways to get to us. We're certainly not one of these businesses that tried to hide their phone number, for example. We try and keep our communication tools as diverse as possible. And I think that's when you can make, whether it's a vulnerable customer or any other type of customer, that's where we try and focus is maximize the choices that our customers have. We are a premium product. We believe that we offer a premium service. And so we can, by maximizing those number of routes into us and mechanisms by which the customer can deal with us, then we will cover all of our different customer sets.
Thank you. And Steve, I am going to ask the same question to you around vulnerable customers. And I mean, there is certainly a use case where AI can be farming the data that you've got around a customer and be able to present back, actually, this is a vulnerable customer, and therefore this is how you might want to handle that interaction. So I am going to ask you that question, but I'm also going to ask you another question that I'm going to pull a few questions together, if that's okay.
You know, I'm a man. I can't multitask, right?
Are you taking notes? Are you taking notes? So what I do want to do is ask you around data. So there are some questions that are coming in around the use of data, especially, for example, in the government space, and how data is being processed by the AI. And also within that, again, almost staying on that government piece, how can AI cater for an organization that is like a government organization where you've got so much sensitive data? Did you get all of those questions?
I think so. I'll give it a go. Please tell me if I haven't. So in terms of the vulnerable customers, so you know, specifically around Genesys, how we can deal with that. So what we can do is in real time, we'll be recording every single interaction, whether it's a voice call or a digital interaction, and over any kind of social channel. So as long as it's kind of orchestrated through Genesys, we will capture all that interaction history in real time. So therefore, we can start to apply things like sentiment analysis. So based on what somebody is talking about verbally, we can start to detect actually there's something we need to do. So whether you're a charity and you've got a vulnerable customer that's needing help from a mental perspective, we can kind of understand that, and it may be we flag something to one of your team leaders. If it to then engage to see how you deal with that customer in real time. We've got a number of customers that do this already. Or it may be that someone is struggling with a financial side of things, and you can see potentially what they've been looking at on your portal, for argument's sake. So we can track what they've been doing on your portal or on your website, whether they're looking at particular information, that they're assisting some help. You can then interact with them and making sure you've got the right person at the right time to support the person at that time of need. I think we've lost Lee, haven't we? And then we also have
you
the
just
ability...
carry on, Steve. She'll come back.
Let's hope so. Then we can also use that in real... So I've lost my train of thought now. Vulnerable customers, I'll come back to it. So I'll kind of touch on the governance piece of information and the data. So again, within Genesys, that all the data is stored within Genesys. We don't use the internet for that data. So if we're using things like Ben was talking about, using your knowledge base to deliver information to your agents in real time, we're using it from our own knowledge base, as in if I was Nespresso, we've built that knowledge base within our Nespresso environment, and we're not going searching the internet for a Nespresso answer. There's nothing to stop you doing that yourselves, but from a Genesys perspective, we're keeping it contained within your corporate knowledge base. And that's particularly pertinent around whether you're a government organization, the Home Office, and all their sort of branches within the Home Office, they're on Genesys and are now starting to do that. We have a number of financial organizations who, if you give an answer using AI to a customer, the FCA want to know how you generated that answer, where you got that answer from. And so you need to keep that contained within your own environment and not, again, be using the internet to scour those answers. And the problem is, obviously, with the internet, it can make up an answer to give you an answer, and actually is not the truth. And so we can't be seen to be doing that from any sort of governance perspective. It's our own kind of contained in Genesys, if that helps.
I'm pretty sure it does, but Lee's not here. However, I've just looked at the Q&A, and there's a question that I think I'd like to just have a conversation around, and it was about AI to quality check interactions. So I know that's a shift of topic, but we have a scenario here where obviously each of our managers check a number of interactions that our agents are having each month. Now, that's pretty limited because we're all humans. Lee's had a power cut. Okay, so, and I am going through the questions. So we have a scenario where humans are limited to the number of interactions that they can check, but actually there are certain things that they are checking that are really simple and really standard. So from our perspective, it's, did they say, hi, my name is, did they say, thanks for calling DHL Express? Now, we can use technology, and we're not currently doing this, but I'm interested in you guys, in your guys' opinion, but we're looking at using technology to literally review every single chat, every single voice call that we do, so that actually it can review those simple questions for you. Now, in the group that I was in, I think you were there, Steve, in Bristol, you know, there was a company, I think it was OVO Energy, that were actually using technology to review the whole of that conversation, rather than just the simple things that I'm talking about.
Yeah, so again, within Genesis, we see a number of customers now doing that. So again, as long as it's routed through Genesis, again, voice or digital, we capture everything. And so you can then start to, from that taking away that manual process of going to find 5 calls a month, and they're randomly selected based on some kind of manual selection you've decided to choose, whether it's long duration, short duration, or random, which kind of actually is a very little use to take a sample, because they could be any mix of those interactions. So we use AI now to record every single interaction. We can then use AI to then quality assess every single interaction. And in your example, where did we give the corporate DHL greeting? You might have 10 questions you want to review that interaction.
Yeah.
Yes or no. Well, we can, because we've recorded it, we can fill that in to say, well, I was listening to the call, so yes, Steve did say that. Was he empathetic to the customer? Yes or no? No, because I couldn't be bothered. So you can put no. Did I do all these other things which you decide? And then at the end of the interaction, based on the whole host of yeses, nos, sentiment, things that we may have missed because we didn't think to ask it, but we captured as Genesis, say, actually, it's scored 8 out of 10 or whatever your threshold is. Normally ignore it, but actually, Steve said these other things. I'm going to send it through to you because you might just want to review it. So it might be around, customer actually said FedEx in your example. It'd be like, no, that's the devil. You don't want anyone mentioning FedEx. So, or anything.
Who they are.
Exactly. I don't even.
They're not very good anyway.
So we can capture things like whether you mentioned a competitor or whatever it is. Because we've captured everything, you can then use that to quality assess.
Yeah, and the beauty is you're covering every single interaction. Whereas, as we said, a manager might be able to do 10 calls a month, but actually using technology, you have the ability to check every single call that we have, and that just brings something completely different to the game. And again, you're using technology to review and summarize that data to focus your managers or your quality people on that. Kate, we can see you've joined us. You are now the new Lee, but we were merrily chatting away to ourselves, by the way.
Hey,
and
that's
200 visitors.
Apologies, Lee's had a power cut.
So just to finish on that, Paul, then what we're seeing is you'll still want to add that human touch. So it will have flagged something to you. And so, you as kind of, the quality assessors can then go, actually, it's fine. So I'm not going to negatively score Steve based on that. It may, it's not all about negative. It's actually Steve went above and beyond. So actually, let's recognize him for doing that and reward him for doing that, and then call him out and share it amongst the team. Going, team, look what Steve did. This is what we all want you to start achieving. So you can use it for a whole host of things.
Lee's bothered to turn up again now. We were having fun regardless, Lee, so don't worry.
I love a power cut. I am so sorry.
So we were just reviewing the questions, by the way. So we've been through 1 or 2 of them. I'm not sure we've covered all of them. But I'm just conscious of time, actually, Lee. I'm not sure how you want to do this.
Thank you so much, and Kate, thank you so much for stepping in. And Steve, sorry to put you in on the hotspot as well. Hopefully, you've had a chance to answer the questions around jobs. I know there were a couple of questions and comments around jobs, and hopefully you address those. If you did, if we didn't, then we will obviously come back and share some of that content through our website. But Steve, I don't know if did you go back into what's next? Did you answer that question of how can people take advantage of AI?
Not as yet, no. So thank you for that, Lee. So I think, my advice would be think big, but don't delay on starting on a small project and finding something that will provide a significant impact to your business to prove how you can use AI to improve your business and improve customer experience. And I think that will then help you as anyone kind of glean or gain more buy-in from the organization if you can prove how it works successfully. And as I said, if it doesn't, don't be afraid of trying something else. There are countless use cases, as we like to see them, where you can improve the customer experience and the agent experience. And I think the best place is where you do both. And if you can kind of match those things together, so make it easy for me to interact with you on my channel of choice. And when I do interact with you, you know who I am, what I've been doing, where I've been, and to give me the best experience. And then all of a sudden, I'll just become a regular repeat customer. And that's all because you've invested AI in the right place to allow me to interact with you. That would be my advice.
Thank you, Steve. And I just want to reiterate that we are looking for the priorities, people's priorities for introducing or using AI in their contact center. So there is a link in the chat. We will also send it out in the email that will follow this session, because we are interested in hearing what are the priorities, and we will play that back once we've been through all of the road shows. As I say, we've got another one on the 30th of January. Steve, thank you so much, and to the team at Genesys for supporting us today, but also on our AI Roadshow. I really appreciate your support. Paul and Ben, apologies for my power cut and throwing guys into where did she go? But Paul and Ben, thank you so much for sharing again today, but also in Durham and in Bristol. And Paul, I know a member of your team also shared in Birmingham. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share where you're at on your AI journey. And thank you guys for watching. And again, apologies to you guys too. I love a power cut. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we shall see you again soon. Please check out the QR code that's going to display on the screen imminently, and that will take you to the survey. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.